Please come and get me.
Ariel Johnson sat on a concrete parking divider outside the Cypress Ridge Pavilion, her elbows resting on her knees, her hands shaking as she tried to keep herself upright. Mascara streaked her cheeks in uneven black trails, cutting through her brown skin like evidence she hadn't meant to leave behind. Overhead, strands of silver and gold string lights glowed warmly through the pavilion's floor-to-ceiling windows. Inside, laughter spilled freely. Her sister's laughter. Her mother's laughter. Everyone's laughter. Just not hers. The Texas night air in Pearland was thick and heavy, pressing against her skin, but she barely noticed. Her emerald green bridesmaid dress clung to her body uncomfortably, the fabric stretched tight across her hips and chest. Of course it did. Marissa had ordered it 2 sizes too small. Motivation, her sister had said with a laugh. The seams had strained all day. Every movement, every breath had been a reminder that she didn't fit. Not in the dress, not in the photos, not in the family. Inside, the reception pulsed with joy she wasn't allowed to share. Ariel stared down at her phone. One contact sat at the top of her screen, a name that had quietly become her lifeline over the past 6 months. K. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Pride wrestled with desperation. Years of swallowing hurt, years of trying harder, years of shrinking herself in the hope that one day it would be enough. The exhaustion ran deeper than her bones. She pressed call. 1 ring. Ariel. His voice came through immediately, low and concerned, cutting through her spiraling thoughts like a blade through silk. Kai, her voice cracked, breaking completely on his name. Can you come get me, please? Silence stretched between them, heavy with everything she couldn't say. I'm on my way, he said again. I'm on my way. No questions. No hesitation. Just certainty. The kind she had never had from anyone else in her life. She ended the call and tilted her head back, staring up at the sky. The stars were barely visible through the city's light pollution, faint and distant. She wondered when she had learned to make herself so small in a family that should have made her feel infinite. To understand how Ariel Johnson, a pastry chef whose desserts made grown men close their eyes and sigh, whose presence could fill a room, ended up crying alone outside her sister's wedding, we have to go back. Besties, before we continue, let me ask you a question. Have you subscribed to our channel? If not, please do so to help this channel build a strong community and tell us where you are watching from in the comments section. 6 months earlier. The brass bell above the door of butter, and Bloom chimed as Ariel wiped her hands on her apron and looked up from behind the counter. The man standing in the doorway did not look like her usual clientele. Tall, still, sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He stepped inside with measured ease. Behind him, a second man, shorter, broader, moved in and positioned himself by the door, silent and watchful like a statue. Ariel felt herself straighten instinctively. Ariel Johnson, the first man said, his English precise, faintly accented. He studied the display cases with an intensity that made her suddenly aware of her posture, her hands, the space she occupied. You own this shop. Yes, she said. How can I help you? These are beautiful, he said simply. Ariel exhaled slightly. She could talk about her work. That part was safe. Thank you. What kind of event are you planning? He reached into his jacket and slid a leather portfolio across the counter. I want to see what you can do. She blinked. My portfolio. I don't want pictures, he said. I want to see you work. Her mind stalled. I don't usually do demonstrations for consultations. I'm not a usual client. His gaze held hers. Intense, assessing, not unkind, not judging, just seeing. Name your price. Something about his stillness, his complete focus, made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in longer than she could remember. Not diminished, not invisible. 2,000, she said, for a private demonstration. Done. 3 days later, Ariel stood alone in the kitchen after closing. The familiar motions grounded her, measuring, mixing, piping. Sugar dusted her fingers. Buttercream smoothed beneath her spatula. Kai sat on a stool nearby, watching in silence except for the occasional question. His assistant, John, remained near the wall, unmoving. She talked as she worked, about flavor profiles, structural integrity, the difference between French and Italian buttercream. "You love this," Kai observed quietly. "Of course I do," she said. "It's mine." She piped cream puffs with practiced precision, each identical to the last. "No one can take this from me. No one can tell me I'm doing it wrong. Your family doesn't support your work." Her hand stilled for just a fraction of a second, before resuming its rhythm. "They think I should have been a nurse," she said. "Or a teacher, something respectable, not this." She looked up sharply. Kai's expression had darkened, almost angry on her behalf. The protectiveness in his eyes made her chest tighten. "You don't know them," she said quickly. "I know they make you doubt yourself," he replied. "I can see it." He stood and approached the counter. "May I?" She nodded. He tasted a cream puff. Something shifted in his expression, surprise melting into pleasure, into something deeper. "This is extraordinary," he said, studying her face like she was art. "You're extraordinary." Ariel's heart hammered. "Why do you really want to hire me?" she asked. "Because I want the best," he said, his gaze unwavering. "And because I want an excuse to see you again." The air between them crackled with possibility, with something dangerous and magnetic. Her phone buzzed on the counter. "Mom. Marissa needs to talk about wedding desserts." Her expression shattered instantly, like sunlight disappearing behind clouds. Kai noticed everything. "Family emergency?" he asked. "Just obligations." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. On the back, he wrote a number. "My personal line," he said. "If you ever need anything, a client, a reference, or just someone to listen." "Why?" she asked. "Because someone should." He paused at the door, turning back. "You deserve more than scraps from people who should treasure you." The bell chimed softly as he left. Ariel stood there long after, staring at the card in her hand, something warm and terrifying blooming in her chest, like sugar dissolving into hot cream. 3 months later, Ariel sat at the long rectangular dining table in her parents' house, the one that still smelled faintly of lemon polish and control. The overhead chandelier cast a warm, flattering glow over everyone else, her mother's smooth makeup, her father's pressed collar, her sister's glossy hair and perfect posture. The light was less kind to Ariel. It highlighted everything she'd learned to be ashamed of. The curve of her arms, the softness of her stomach, the way she took up space, even when she tried not to. She set the basket of dinner rolls in the center of the table, steam escaping from beneath the cloth. She made them that morning before work, waking up early without being asked. She always did. Her father, Leonard, didn't look up from his phone. Her mother, Darlene, cut into her grilled salmon with neat, deliberate movements, lips pursed like she was already displeased. Across from Ariel, Marissa, the bride-to-be at 26, admired her engagement ring for the 5th time in as many minutes, rotating her hand so the diamond caught the light. Beside her, Tiana, 23 and permanently attached to her phone, compared ring angles for Instagram. "Ariel," Leonard said suddenly, still staring at his screen. "We need to talk about your rent." The words landed without warning. "My rent," Ariel repeated, her stomach tightening instantly. "You pay $900 a month for the guest room," he continued. "Market rate is $1,200 now. We're raising it." Ariel sat down slowly, the rolls forgotten. $1,200, she asked. "Dad, I'm saving for a down payment, you said." "Houston prices are what they are," Darlene cut in smoothly. "And you're living here full-time." "I help with bills," Ariel said, her voice careful. "I cover Tiana's car insurance. I helped with the medical deductible last year." "Maybe," Darlene interrupted sharply, "if you spent less money on specialty baking ingredients and plus-size boutique clothes and more time at the gym, you'd already be settled like your sister." Marissa smiled faintly without looking up. Tiana didn't lift her eyes from her phone, but her lips curved in a small, cruel smirk. Ariel's appetite vanished. The rolls she'd made with such care suddenly felt heavy, unnecessary. "I make good money," she said quietly. "My bakery is doing well." Leonard finally looked at her then. His expression was not proud. It was disappointed. "How much did you actually keep after expenses?" Her jaw tightened. 140,000 in revenue this year. "In profit?" Darlene asked, one eyebrow arching. Silence. Marissa leaned back in her chair, satisfied. "Meanwhile, I'm marrying an engineer." Ariel stared down at her plate. She wanted to leave, to stand up and walk out and never come back. But where would she go? Houston rent climbed every month. Her savings were thinner than they should have been, drained by family emergencies that always seemed to land on her shoulders. "I'll pay the increase," she whispered. Darlene smiled, satisfied. "Good," she said. "Now about the wedding cake." The words came 10 minutes later, as casually as if they were asking her to pass the salt. "We'd like you to make Marissa's wedding cake," Darlene announced. 5 tiers, enough for 250 guests. Ariel's chest tightened. "That would cost." "We've seen your work," Darlene continued. "That gold leaf technique you do." "Mom," Ariel said carefully, "that would be at least $3,500, the labor alone." "We're family," Marissa said finally, looking directly at her. "You can't charge us full price." "I'm not charging full price," Ariel said quickly. "I just need to cover materials and my time." "Are you seriously trying to profit off your sister's wedding?" Tiana gasped loudly, eyes wide in performative shock. Her phone was already up. Leonard's expression hardened. "Family helps family." Ariel's hands curled into fists beneath the table. "I covered your car insurance for 6 months," she said softly. "I paid for medications when insurance denied them." "This is different," Darlene snapped. "This is Marissa's special day. Do you want to be the reason it's ruined?" The guilt landed with practiced precision. Ariel felt herself folding inward, years of conditioning snapping neatly into place. What design do you want?" she asked, defeat heavy in her voice. Marissa's smile was immediate and triumphant. "I'll send you the Pinterest board." 3 weeks later, it was nearly midnight. Ariel sat on the edge of her bed, surrounded by sketches, color swatches, and sugar flower samples. Her hands ached. Her eyes burned. The room smelled faintly of vanilla and exhaustion. Her phone vibrated. "Kay." Her heart lifted instantly. "Hi," she answered, unable to keep the smile from her voice. "You're still awake," Kai said gently, "working on the cake." She sighed. "It's a lot." A pause. "Then are they paying you?" Silence stretched. "Ariel," he said quietly. "They're my family," she replied, even as the words felt thin. Family doesn't treat people like unpaid labor. Tears stung her eyes. "I want to see you," he said suddenly. 10 minutes later, She smiled when the cameras panned across the crowd. She played her part. At the reception, music swelled as the DJ's voice boomed across the room. Please welcome the parents of the bride, Leonard and Darlene Johnson. Applause erupted. Maid of honor, Tiana Johnson. Cheers and whistles. Bridesmaids, Mia Thompson and Kayla Reed. More applause. Ariel waited. Her name never came. For a moment, she wondered if she'd imagined it. Then the music shifted and the next announcement began. She stood slowly and approached the coordinator. I think my name might have been missed, she said quietly. The woman glanced at her clipboard and shrugged. Must have been left off. Ariel stepped back, heat rushing to her face, heart sinking with painful clarity. During the speeches, Leonard stood tall and proud, talking about how Marissa had always been driven, how she'd found the perfect partner, how blessed their family was. Darlene dabbed her eyes, speaking about watching her daughter grow into a beautiful woman. Tiana's maid of honor speech was full of inside jokes and laughter. Photos appeared on the large screens behind them, childhood memories, vacations, birthdays. Ariel searched every image. She wasn't in any of them. The groom's brother took the microphone next, praising Marissa's amazing family and gesturing toward the head table. Ariel's seat there was conspicuously empty. She was guided to table 14 instead, tucked near the back of the room with distant relatives and plus ones who didn't know her name. They smiled politely, asked vague questions, then turned back to their conversations. The cake stood proudly under a spotlight near the dance floor. Her cake. Guests gathered around it, murmuring admiration. This is stunning. The detail is insane. Who made this? No one answered. Ariel watched, hands folded in her lap, her heart aching in a way that felt old and familiar. When the cake was cut, applause broke out again. Marissa laughed, feeding her new husband a bite, frosting smudging his lip. Cameras flashed. Not a single word of acknowledgement. When the photographer called out, Johnson family photos, Ariel stood automatically. She took 2 steps forward, before Darlene's hand shot out and clamped around her wrist. Not you, her mother hissed. Ariel froze. What? These are going online, Darlene said sharply, glancing toward the photographer. We need cohesive photos. Understanding crashed over Ariel like ice water. I'm your daughter, she whispered. You know how you photograph, Darlene replied coolly. It's just better this way. Too big. Too dark. Too much. Tiana was already posing beside Marissa, smiling wide. The photographer didn't hesitate. The camera clicked again and again. Ariel backed away slowly. No one noticed. She made it outside before the sob tore out of her chest. It came hard and fast, shaking her entire body as she collapsed onto the concrete barrier near the parking lot. She barely noticed when her parents approached. There you are, Darlene said, annoyed. We need to talk. Leonard crossed his arms. We're selling the house. You have 30 days. Ariel's head snapped up. What? We're downsizing, Darlene said evenly. There's no room for you. At the wedding, Ariel whispered. You're 28, Leonard said. You should have moved out years ago. I stayed because you asked me to, she said, voice breaking. You said you needed help. And we appreciated it, Darlene replied. But it's time. If you'd taken care of yourself, Leonard continued, eyes cold, lost weight, found a real job, maybe you'd have your own place by now. Instead, you're still baking cupcakes and wearing XXL dresses. Ariel's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. Don't you dare cause drama, Darlene warned. She pressed call. Ariel's finger hovered for half a second before she pressed call. The phone rang once. Ariel, Kai's voice came through immediately, sharp with concern. Can you come get me, she said, the words breaking apart as they left her mouth. Please. I'm on my way, he said. Don't move, I'll be there in 5 minutes. No questions. No hesitation. Just certainty. She lowered the phone slowly, her hands trembling so badly she had to grip it with both hands. Darlene stared at her in disbelief. "What did you just do?" her mother demanded. Leonard scoffed. "You better not be causing a scene at your sister's wedding." Ariel didn't answer. She couldn't. Her chest felt too tight, her throat burning as she stared out at the parking lot, waiting. 5 minutes later, the sound came first. Engines. Low, smooth. Controlled. 3 black sedans turned into the lot and rolled to a stop near the entrance, their tires crunching against the gravel in perfect unison. Doors opened almost simultaneously. Men stepped out. They were dressed in dark suits, movements precise and deliberate. One took position near each vehicle, scanning the surroundings. Another adjusted something at his shoulder, the outline of a holster briefly visible. The air shifted. Conversations inside the venue faltered. Guests began drifting toward the doors, curiosity pulling them forward. Phones were already being raised. Kai emerged from the center car. He wore tailored black slacks and a fitted shirt, the fabric crisp, expensive. His expression was unreadable, controlled, dangerous in its calm. He didn't look at Leonard. He didn't look at Darlene. He went straight to Ariel. He stopped in front of her, eyes scanning her face, the tear tracks on her cheeks, the way her shoulders trembled. "Did they touch you?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "No," her voice cracked. They took everything." His jaw tightened. He placed one arm around her waist and helped her stand, steadying her when her legs wobbled. Only then did he turn to face her parents. "You must be Ariel's family," Kai said, his tone polite, almost mild. Leonard bristled. "Who the hell are you?" Kai met his gaze evenly. Something passed between them, an unspoken assessment. "I'm hers," Kai said simply. Darlene recovered first. "This is a private event. You need to leave." Kai's lips curved slightly, but there was no warmth in it. "Interesting priorities," he said. "You left your daughter crying in a parking lot." By now, guests had fully gathered near the entrance. Whispering rippled through the crowd. Phones were held openly, recording. Marissa appeared in the doorway, still in her wedding gown, confusion etched across her face. Tiana followed close behind. "What's going on?" Marissa demanded. "Ariel, what did you do?" "She did nothing," Kai said without looking away from Leonard and Darlene. "But you did." The men with him shifted subtly, positioning themselves, blocking paths without touching anyone. One lifted a tablet. Another raised a professional camera. Leonard's voice rose. "You can't." "You charged your daughter rent while exploiting her labor," Kai said calmly, his voice carrying clearly across the lot. "You demanded a $4,500 wedding cake for free. You excluded her from family photos because of her body. And you evicted her at her sister's wedding." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "That's family business," Darlene snapped, her voice sharp. "It's abuse," Kai corrected. "And since you made it public, we're simply documenting it." Tiana lunged forward. "You can't post that." Kai didn't look at her. "It's already live." Marissa's face drained of color. She looked around at the phones, the murmuring guests, the sudden shift in attention. Ariel stood quietly beside Kai, his arms still around her, feeling something strange and unfamiliar settle in her chest. "Clarity." Kai turned toward her then, his voice softening. "You don't owe them anything," he said. "Not explanations, not labor, not love." Ariel took a breath, then another. She stepped forward. "I'm done," she said, her voice shaking but steady. "I'm done trying to earn love from people who only see me as useful when I'm serving them." She looked at Marissa. "Your cake was beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it. That's the last thing I'll ever make for you." She turned to Tiana. "Delete my number." Then she faced her parents. "I'll be out of the house in 3 days." Darlene reached for her. "Ariel." She stepped back. "You told me I wasn't good enough to be in family photos," Ariel continued. "You were right. I'm not good enough for this family." She met their eyes. "That's not my failure. It's yours." Leonard's face darkened. If you leave with him. I leave, Ariel said simply, and I'll finally be free. Kai guided her toward the car. One of his men opened the door with smooth precision. Before getting in, Ariel turned back one last time. Her family stood clustered together, surrounded by glowing phone screens and shocked faces. Marissa was crying angry, panicked tears. Darlene looked devastated, not because she had hurt her daughter, but because she had been exposed. Leonard was already arguing with someone, trying to regain control. They looked small. For the first time in her life, Ariel didn't feel sorry for them. Ready? Kai asked softly. She nodded. The door closed. The sound muted instantly, chaos fading into distant noise. Inside the car, the silence felt safe. Kai traced slow circles on her palm as they pulled away from the venue, Cypress Ridge Pavilion shrinking in the rearview mirror, until it disappeared completely. Where are we going? She asked finally. My place, he said, unless you want somewhere else. No, she replied, squeezing his hand. Your place is perfect. You were brave, he said. I was terrified. Bravery is acting anyway. 3 weeks later, Ariel woke in crisp white sheets, sunlight spilling through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The room was quiet, peaceful. She padded into the kitchen to find Kai making coffee, shirtless, tattoos visible across his shoulders. On the counter sat a magazine. City Bites, Ariel Johnson, the pastry chef redefining luxury desserts. She smiled. Ready to meet my family? Kai asked gently. Your family? My real family, he said, the ones I chose. Ariel leaned into him, finally understanding the difference between being tolerated and being treasured. She was never going back. Besties, if you enjoyed this story and stayed with us until the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps this channel grow, and we can't wait to hear what you felt during this journey.